Average Joe's Drive-In is proudly sponsored by the Maine Cannababes. The Cannababes are a charity group of pro-cannabis women in the state of Maine who are bringing worthy attention to various causes throughout the medical cannabis community. This year, they launched their very first Maine Cannababes pinup calendar. All the proceeds from this calendar are going to worthy charitable causes. If you are interested in purchasing one or finding out more about the Cannababes, you can go to their website, www.maincannababes.com, or find them on most major forms of social media like Facebook and Instagram. Please go and check out this group of wonderful people doing great things and helping out in the community. Once again, that's maincannababes.com.
Welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In, your weekly podcast on movies, music, games, and other things entertainment related. Now, your host, DJ Washburn.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In, episode 31.5. As Matt is my guest today, Matt Enos and I already recorded one in technology. So, yeah. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good. We're going to do it better. I'm going to not repeat myself.
Yeah, we're not going to repeat anything we talked about, even though you guys have never heard this episode of the show.
I'm gonna feel inclined to go, yeah, so as I was saying, but I'll try not to.
As I was saying last time we talked, and so Matt's an old friend of mine. We go back a long ways, like 10 or 12 years or so, and actually the other day was the first time we had talked in Christ, probably at least 8 or 9 years. And
I'm gonna go 10. I'm gonna go 10, 11 probably.
10, yeah, it's been a while. So we've kept in touch over the years online and stuff, but we actually haven't had a chance to talk or catch up in quite some time. So it was pretty cool. So we got a dry run of this episode out of the way on Monday, and so. Matt is a filmmaker. He's been doing it for as long as I've known him and longer. He has a really cool show out called the Slim Duffy Show. And, so Matt, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what the whole Slim Duffy thing is all about?
Well, I'm a writer, director, actor. The past year and a half, me and a couple of my buddies have been doing a web series called The Slim Duffy Show, which you can see on YouTube or Facebook, facebook.com/Slim Duffy. It's surreal humor, absurdist types humor. I guess I also play Slim Duffy. And the best way I can describe Slim Duffy is he's the guy in the neighborhood. He's the local dummy, the local idiot that everybody picks on and gets under his skin and takes advantage of, takes his kindness for weakness. And he lives in a tiny little house. He has a tiny little television that he watches awful local access, TV shows on. And he collects cans and bottles on the side of the road. That's how he earns his income, or as he calls it, bottle up. And there's a few. He doesn't complain. He's quite a pathetic character, but he just wants to be left alone. Just wants to live a quiet, wholesome little life, and not be bothered by all the creeps in the neighborhood. The main one being a sex offender who lives nearby named JT Smash, which is short for Justice Tranquility. And he is
his parents were flower children, I'm assuming.
Well, he doesn't really talk to his parents. They sold him into the sex trade when he was a child. So
good wholesome Maine family fun right there.
He's not, but he's independently wealthy because of it. So
okay.
So he is Slim is the object of JT's ultimate desires. JT has a schoolgirl, or schoolboy in this case, crush on Slim. Most of the episodes kind of revolve around this JT loves Slim, and Slim's disgusted. JT goes to extreme lengths to try to bang Slim. Slim just wants nothing to do with it. It's kind of like the Pepe Le Pew, like with the black cat, just constantly trying to bang the black cat. Slim being the black cat, and we have another character by the name of Burnt Charlie. He's the local burn victim. He blew his house up in a meth lab explosion. He walks around with, medical wrapping, and he takes advantage of everyone's sympathies. People invite him in, try to, give him a peanut butter sandwich here and there. And he's a kleptomaniac, so he'll steal your wallet when your back is turned, or he stole Slim's Razor scooter in one episode. And we have a number of other, random characters strewn throughout. We have a character named Banana Man. We have a character named Rusty Fuck, who's an alcoholic farmer. He got Slim on the booze and turned Slim into an alcoholic for one episode. But yeah, those are the three primary guys. You got Slim, you got JT, and Burnt Charlie.
And I was trying to describe your show to a friend of mine, and I described it as, I think it was like Trailer Park Boys meets, I can't remember now right off the top of my head, but I was thinking about this today too, and I'm thinking it's like a
Trailer Park Boys meets Magic Mike. Would be, I guess that would be the way I would go with it.
Yeah, okay. I've never seen Magic Mike, so I can't.
That's the male. That's that.
I know what it is, but I've never seen it. So yeah, I was going to say Trailer Park Boys meets Beavis and Butthead, but
that's a good one. That's good.
That would be, so but if you like that sort of humor, then I think you would really enjoy the show. So, I encourage anybody to check this out, because I've seen a few episodes and it's funny as shit. So especially if you get the humor and are not easily offended. If you are easily offended, not probably the show you want to watch. But
right. Yeah, and I've it's funny because I figured I have a lot of people. I know a lot of people that I thought would love it and it would be their thing, and all the people I thought would hate it actually really like it, and the people I thought would like it are just it's taken them a little while to kind of catch on, I think. Some of them have. I think there's still, I don't want to see it. But
right.
It's been an interesting reaction to the whole thing.
And I think sometimes getting a reaction from outside your normal circle is almost a better thing, because it's opening up some new doors for you. It's not the same. Not that there's anything wrong with the same people that you've always checked out your stuff or whatever, looking at it, but I think it kind of makes things a little fresher for you, and maybe gives you a little more of a kick in the ass to step things up or whatever,
Yeah, no, that, definitely. That was, that definitely played into it. We had a small, very, very, very small group of people watching our movies before, and after Slim Duffy, it got a little better, so.
I think a good metaphor for this would be, or it could be much like JT's affections for Slim. It's, the more that they buck against it, the harder you try. So.
Oh, yeah. No means go. No means. JT.
So, excuse me. I've been getting over a cold, so I apologize if I'm coughing every couple of minutes here. So I was thinking before we started, we were talking just a second, about the whole debacle of the last episode not recording and stuff. And I said I had an idea for you for an episode, take it or leave it, whatever. But have you ever heard the LL Cool J song "I Need Love"?
Yes, and I particularly remember Necro's version of that song, which was "I Need Drugs." So I probably heard that one more.
I've never heard the other version, but so I was thinking, of that. The episode starts out with JT sitting in a room with that song kicking it on, but instead of being real generic, it's more geared towards Slim.
Well, that's good. And JT has a band. We did an episode where JT, starts a rock band. His band is called Black Stallion, and he doesn't really know. I mean, Black Stallion, it's his, he likes to tell people it's like heavy metal, it's kick-ass, like rock and roll. It's like, it's all over the place. It's, whatever they end up coming out with just off the top, it can be like poppy and dancey, and then it could be like death metal-y and grindcore, but then it'll be like twangy and, acoustic. Like, he just doesn't know what he doesn't know what he wants to do.
Yeah, no, I hear that, but I could totally see that, When I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall, and in the back of my mind, I hear my conscience call. I need a Slim who's as sweet as a dove for the first time in my life. I need love.
That's good. Yeah. That's good.
I don't know, for some reason I heard that song earlier today, and I was like, that got me thinking about it, because
just put it together.
When we were talking about it, I was like, hey, maybe that's an idea for something they could do. So it's there for you. It's there for you if you want it, man.
If I can get the copyright from LL himself.
Well, okay, but then it falls under the parody thing.
Oh, that's true.
Because if it's not, if you're not straight up using all, you're fitting it to suit the show and parodying it, then
I believe that's what Necro had to do. Because he probably didn't have the money.
I believe that kind of falls under like a fair use thing type deal, because you can't something to do with the
which can be very tricky. That fair use stuff that can be real tricky.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could just do a slightly different version, same idea.
Absolutely. Well, JT's songs, he tries to write songs about, cool stuff like going to the beach, and like he thinks that's like a good idea of a rock song. Like, like we're going to the beach, but like most songs just end up being about how much he wants to bang Slim again. It just inadvertently goes back to his affection.
So it would fit into the whole aesthetic of the.
Yes.
Well, there you go. Hey, so you went to film school, correct?
Yes, I did.
So how was that whole experience being a young kid from Maine going into the wilds of the big city of New York? Was that an eye opener? Was it kind of what you thought it would be? Was it just?
No, yeah, it was a good experience. I definitely. I had never been down, I was like every other, 18-year-old kid. I had never been I went to school in New York, and I'd never even been out of New England. And I went down there thinking like, they're going to see like the stuff that I've been doing in high school and be like, look out for this guy. He's going to, and it was not that way exactly. I saw some of the stuff like my classmates had done. The films they had done in high school. Because when you get to film school, all you go to your high school movies. And like some of the stuff my friends had done, I was like, wow, you're good. I don't know I didn't even want to show my stuff after like a little while. So, that was an eye opener. So I would say like, I think film school is good if you don't mind like, being in debt and having bad credit. If you can even go for like 1 year, I think it's good for like any 18-year-olds who want to do like creative stuff like that to kind of have, at least that was my personal experience. Just have that kind of like, I don't know how to make movies. I thought I did.
I think it's like anything creative, you almost have to get out there and step outside maybe your comfort zone that you've always been in and see something new to really open your eyes up to what else is, where other people are at. And I could attribute it to like the same thing as like being in a band and playing in your basement all the time and your friends hearing it, but you never actually go out to ever see a show or other bands, and then you go see those bands and you're like, damn, I got work to do.
Oh, yeah. Right.
But that's not a bad thing. I think every artist needs that kind of maybe motivational kick in the ass to kind of knock you down a few pegs and bring you back to reality some.
And you're going to do like bad stuff. Like, it's a good thing to like do bad stuff and put it out there and have it kind of come back a little bit and motivate you to like, and then eventually you'll look back on all of that too and be like, oh yeah, I thought that was good. So that can help for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You should definitely make a bad movie or two. Plenty, and you do when you start making. I mean, I probably didn't make a good movie until like 5 or 6 years, 7, 8. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. Again, it's that you're kind of your perspective versus like the consumer's perspective. I think is a whole different thing, because I think as an artist of any type, you build stuff up in your head about what it is and what you're doing, and you know the work that's going into it and how, what's happening with it and the effort it takes. But at the same time, and what your budget is and what you get to work with, not everybody sees that or appreciates it. That doesn't necessarily mean just because you have no budget and no whatever that it's not going to be good, but it's that same. I think it's that critical feedback comes back, and it makes you, I think, aware that maybe I do need to step it up, and maybe I do need to invest a little more in equipment, and maybe I need to do this or do that, and it opens up the realm of possibilities of what you need to do or to advance.
And you know what that's very true. We made a full-length movie in 2015 called Trouble Down East. It was like a crime, like revenge, little like type movie, and small town like druggies, going after each other in various violent ways. And I thought it was going to be, this cool little gritty little movie, and it was just kind of a, I look back on it now, and it could have been a better movie. And we could have made a different movie. We should have made a Slim Duffy movie, but so we got like one review on the movie, and it was like, you couldn't ask for like a word, like it was a cleansing, like fire type thing of like this movie, like very visceral, like this movie stinks. And like the gist of the whole review was like something along the lines of, these guys are just like on drugs, and one of them had a camera. They didn't have a script, but they were like, let's make a movie about us. We'll do some drugs, and we'll film it, and we'll put it out there, and then we'll do some more drugs. Like, it kind of boiled it down to that. And it was like, we were at the time, like, holy shit, like, it was it was a rough one, but it was good now, like, looking back, being like, well, it definitely can't get worse. Like, that was really bad. And also, if it was polite and like, I don't know if I wouldn't recommend this film. It wasn't very well made. Like, that probably would have hurt worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the fact that it was just, this sucks, was a good, like, all right,
as a writer, I can 100% relate to you there, because
they felt something about it. It wasn't just indifference. It was like, either it was hatred or like, whatever.
For every like maybe 2 reviews I get of something I've written, I get one of those reviews that's just like,
whatever.
I get those. This writer sucks. This book was written for children. I didn't like this. Blah blah blah. You're a horrible writer. Type shit. You get those, and it sucks when you get them, because you really feel like dog shit after you get them. Especially those ones that are super, super blunt about what they thought. You're like, Jesus, maybe I just should stop making stuff because I suck at life, apparently. And
maybe, like, that day, like, might have been not the best day, like, to read that. You're like, kind of fan. It's like, you see that, like,
That always seems to be the way, or this is the other thing I find like it seems to happen, is you've got some momentum going, maybe, like, I had a review come in one time, and I had been doing, like, I had actually been, like, selling a bunch of books, and I hadn't for a while, and I was kind of seeing an uptick, and people were seeing interest, and then I got this really shitty review, and it was simply, they rated it 2 stars, and it was more like, and then it says, more like 1.5. And I was like, that was so simple, and it wasn't like mean or anything, but I was just like,
yeah, that one hurt. That one stung.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
I'm like, and the thing is, an artist, whenever you put anything out there, you're always going to get those asshole trolls that are just trying to make you feel bad because either they're jealous or whatever reason they don't like you personally, something, you know. I don't know how much you've run into that type of stuff, but I've had it happen a few times where I've had people try to start shit with me online or whatever just because, you know, I didn't I didn't invite him to be on the podcast, or I didn't, you know, or, you know, I didn't whatever, or something, or when I was booking shows, I failed to book their band 15 years ago, and they still do. There's people that hold grudges like that, and it's so immature and childish. But you know,
I don't deal with really any of that, unfortunately. I would like some
it's
trolls.
coming. It's coming. Believe me, I think the more Slim Duffy takes off, you're going to start getting some of them. And I'm going to give you a piece of advice as best I can give it to you, is in my new book, Confessions of a Boring White Guy, little plug there for myself, I wrote a whole post about trolls and just my thoughts on them. And, you know, I think the title was Don't Feed the Trolls.
Yeah, no, the troll thing definitely, you kind of get used, you kind of see the whole thing and get used to that mindset, and you know, it's some of them are hilarious.
Oh, some of them are funny, and you can kind of fuck with them a little bit back, and then
some of them are absolutely hilarious. It's the ones that aren't funny at all and like really good. It's like, shut up. Like those.
The problem is the ones that aren't funny at all are usually the real blatantly obvious trolls that will say shit, you know, like
kill yourself.
Oh, you're from Maine. You're just trying to be the next Stephen King. So my reply is, thank you. And guess what? I never heard another peep from them. And then they eventually took their whole profile down. But when I go look at their profile, it's like works in a mustard factory in Alaska. And it was, you know, just this random weird shit that has nothing to do with anything. And it's like, dude, really? You put no effort into this whatsoever. I have some friends that could be pretty much professional trolls if they wanted to, and the lengths they go to do shit and make it look legit is funny, you know.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen some people in my life that were some of the most hilarious people, and they would do that, and it would be the funniest shit to watch.
And some of those people are just trying to get a laugh, and they're just trying, you know, but it's the real mean-spirited asshole type trolls that are. Those are usually like. To me, I always think of those people, it's like you're, you know, living in your mom's basement and probably have never got laid, and you're angry at the fucking world, or, you know, you feel like the world slighted you because your band didn't make it, your book didn't sell, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on. That's what I
feel like the real hateful ones are like the younger, like the 15-year-olds and shit, because I kind of used to do a little of that stuff too. Like, I was kind of a little asshole, like, online when I was a teenager. Like, I would, you know, write, this band sucks.
And then yelling for your mom to get you some Hot Pockets because you're being a badass on the internet, you know?
You just look back on it and it's like, why did I care? Like, I don't care if that band sucks. I don't have to listen to them or read the article.
And
like, let them suck.
And that's the other thing. It's like, you know, as any artist, I don't care what you do, when criticism sucks. Nobody likes criticism. I mean, you know, it's one of those things. But I think as you grow older, at least in my case, you know, I'm going to be 40 this year. So you know, as I've gotten older, the shit I don't like, I generally don't even, you know, I don't even feel the need to comment on or mention anything about, because I don't like it.
Can't waste the energy.
Why waste? Right, exactly. Why waste the energy on it? It's not affecting me in any. If it was personally and directly affecting me, I might say my 2 cents about it. You know, if I had a teenage kid at home that was listening to some god awful band that I was forced to like hear every day, I probably might bitch about said band, you know, sucking ass, but or whatever it may be. But the point is, you know, it's like I think too many people waste too much time on negative bullshit. When they could be focusing on something, you know, something positive or doing something creative or just why let that seep into your mind? Because I find a lot of times, and I'm sorry I'm rambling there, but I find a lot of times the more you go down that rabbit hole of negativity about bitching because this band sucks, then it's this whole genre sucks, then it's these people suck because they listen to this genre, and you just become such like a bitter, self-loathing, hateful person because it's like that's all you focus on.
I was that guy for a long time, dude. Yeah, I know that shit.
Well,
it's like, yeah, after a while.
But honestly,
I don't care,
dude. I think we all go through something like that in our lives. It's whether we learn from it, it can move on and be like, get to that point of, it doesn't affect me, fuck it. Or
self-awareness.
Self-awareness is key for anything, man. Not just art. It's self-awareness is key about anything. I know I suck at a lot of things. I'm not the greatest writer. I'm not whatever. I still do it because I enjoy it, and I know there's some people out there who like the stuff I do. That's why I do it. It's not. I don't have any delusions of grandeur. If shit takes off, awesome. If not, hey, I'm still who I am, and I still do what I do.
No, that's the attitude I hate too. Is just the guy, the I am the fucking man. I've seen a lot of that stuff, and that just annoys me very, very much. Because if you do whatever you do, you just you've started doing it because you liked it at first. At some point, as a kid, I started watching George Romero movies and just started copying George Romero's movies because I just wanted to do it. I was bored. What the hell? At 13 or whatever, so. You start doing it because you love doing it, and obviously you get a little older, and if you can't kind of get out of the, a few people tell you they like your stuff, and it just goes to your head, and if you're that kind of person, it's difficult to be around those people.
It happens. I mean, it happened. Maybe not to an extreme level, I don't think, but it kind of happened with me doing the band stuff.
I bet.
We had some, especially Tomorrow's Tragedy and the Get Go.
Yeah, a lot of lineups. Tomorrow's Tragedy.
We had a lot of lineups in Tomorrow's Tragedy, but we kind of took off out of the gate because we kind of hit at the right time, and the bands we were playing with, and we were not packing venues, but we were, they had really good turnouts and this and that, and all of a sudden when it just hits you all at once, and you do get a little bit of that, we're awesome, we shouldn't be playing in this slot, and we shouldn't be
those were very fun years, by the way. Yeah, I look back on that time very fondly. That was a really good time.
There is a video that Matt shot on the first little tour Tomorrow's Tragedy did at one of our friends' houses. I think it's called What Happens in Tor in Maine or something that.
It was Ken Sprague's house, I believe.
Yeah, from Soulkill. Yeah,
Soulkill.
Yeah,
and it was you. It started. We were all drunk as shit, and it starts out with you with a bandana on your. I know you're going my daughter, boy, and it cuts to good old Gary Porter. And he just kind of smiles and runs away, and he's laying on the ground.
I was chasing him with a sickle, I think.
Something. And then eventually you just see everyone going, TJ, what are you doing?
I think Ken was something I have 2 Siberian Huskies inside of, because I was trying to do the Texas Chainsaw Massacre chainsaw above the head. I don't know. We were intoxicated, so.
That was bad.
But, you go through, but I think, excuse me, I think
Fun fact about Tomorrow's Tragedy, too, I found a CD recently, I put a bunch of, my old, some of the video clips I had on, CDs, and I found, footage, I found the Tomorrow's Tragedy comeback show when you guys came back with a new lineup, and it dates it for me because I remember the day after that is when I lost my virginity. So I date that based on Tomorrow's Tragedy's comeback show. This date, it was the next day when so yeah.
That was the day the day you found your Slim Duffy.
Yeah. Well, he's never been late. Slim's a virgin. So he's been with a blow-up doll. There's a blow-up doll episode where he has a girlfriend blow-up doll.
That's a little bit of weird trivia I did not know, though.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that. I thought you might appreciate that.
But, getting back onto the whole success thing, though, it just to kind of close it out, not to keep dragging on this, but I think no matter what level you're at, whether it's starting out kind of intermediate or successful, there's always those people in those circles that are like, we're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then you look at them and be like, nah, dude, you're a local band, you're playing the same venues I am.
I remember those bands.
There's always those bands. And there's bands that you go and watch play and be like, holy shit, these bands shouldn't be playing these venues. They should be huge, national bands but you always have, it doesn't matter what it is, you always are going to have those people that look down upon the new guy or the person coming up. Because I think it's almost like a competition thing where they're like, this is the young blood coming in that's trying to challenge our our kinghood here.
I remember all that. Yeah, I remember all that very well with some of the bands, and the one band, obviously, I'm not going to name them, but I remember all that nonsense that went on with that stuff.
It happens. I think it happens with anything, music, writing, movie stuff.
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
I mean,
totally.
that's part of the thing. But so getting back to the Slim Duffy Show.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to hear some, what's, the weirdest thing that's happened to you guys while filming an episode of the show?
Probably, well, we had the cops called on us once, which is funny that it only happened once, because we go to a lot of these places, and it's just, we show up and shoot, try to just get out of there, quickly as possible, just run and gun.
So what you're saying is you don't have your permit.
No.
You don't have your filming permit? Let me make a little call to the Maine Film Association. You hold on.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that's something we've gotten good at, too. We've gotten good at, showing up and, all right, let's get out of here. But, no, a lot of the places we film, we don't, go, we don't go to, private property. We don't, mess with stuff like that. But, we were at a little at Fry Mountain Preserve, which is in Montville, Maine, just way the hell out there. And there's this little public toilet. And the first shot, it was episode 8, Slim Gets Kidnapped. The very first shot is JT walking up to this toilet with assless jean shorts. And he knocks on the door, and Burnt Charlie's in there with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on the toilet, and he's huffing paint. And there was a guy sitting in a Jeep, a few feet away, watching us the entire time. Older guy. We pull in, and he's, about to leave, and he sees us, and he's, I think I'm going to hang around and see what I don't know what his deal was, but he was
probably upset that you found his spot where he goes with his assless jean shorts.
With his peanut butter and jelly, yes.
He's like, someone else is onto my spot. Fuck this. We're not going to make this happen. Yeah, I'm gonna put a stop to this shit now, son.
We were like, maybe he's a game warden, because it's, kind of it's that area and shit. It was like, he didn't say anything, just stared at us the entire time. I think you could see, part of his vehicle in one of the shots. He was so close. And he obviously must have taken out my license number or whatever, and I got a call from a sheriff who had seen the show before, interested. Yeah, I've seen it. It was pretty. That was kind of cool. And then it kind of made us be like, shit, they're onto us. But then he didn't care. He was like, it's just one of those things I got to follow up on. Someone called, and there was no nudity, so it didn't. It was just, he was offended by JT's ass cheeks, or he was turned on, and it made him angry.
And that's what you should. That's when it would have been time to turn and say, we here in Maine have laws pertaining to this, and you can't judge me because of my sexuality, sir, so please leave.
Well, you can walk around with a Speedo on, I believe, and it's not,
as long as the twig and berries are not showing, I think you're good. Technically, in Maine, females can jog with no top on, and it's not illegal.
Interesting. I've never seen that. I'll look out for that.
That was a subject, a big topic a few years ago down to UMO, because there was a few years ago down to UMO, this was probably 12, 13 years ago, but there was a couple of female joggers that were jogging without their tops on, and the cops were like, we can't do anything. It's technically really not nudity. They actually have they call it...
But with, like, tits out or bras?
Oh, no, completely in the buff with like
God,
bikini on, or, with like running shorts on or whatever. Yeah. It was, but they have a thing every year. It's a during Earth Day, where they paint themselves up in green body paint, men and women, and ride around on a bicycle through the campus, completely buck naked, other than the body paint. So yeah,
pretty good. It's legit.
So yeah, I don't know how the laws pertain. As long as there's no lewd acts, you're probably okay.
Well, that's what he told me. Just, as long as you weren't showing genitalia, is what he said. I like to use that word. That's
good. A good professional word.
Yeah, it was very professional. And the phone call is in the credits of the movie. If you watch the movie, I recorded it and put it in the credits.
That's awesome. That's a good little. Did you tell him? You should have sent him a copy if you knew his name. Officer so-and-so. You need to check this out. We give you a little.
Luckily, in the state of Maine, you can record somebody and you don't have to tell them you're recording them.
Oh, really?
That's one of those weird loopholes.
I did not know that.
So if I didn't know you were recording this, I couldn't get mad.
Full disclosure, Matt, I'm recording you right now while we're doing this interview.
All right.
So
good.
So I just want you to be aware, so you're not shocked when I post a link to it later. And you're like, I never gave him any permission to record this. It was...
jeez.
Oh, jeez. Holy jeez, eh? So...
We're doing all we can here.
So we were... we were talking about... on the last episode 31, not 31.5, the one that was never recorded... We were talking some movie stuff, and you told me we were talking about Fred Ward and how much he needs to be in more movies. And you said you just watched a movie with Fred Ward in it. And I'm assuming it wasn't Tremors?
No, it was not Tremors. It was, well, yeah, first of all, I would like to lobby for someone to just put Fred Ward, give him a comeback role, put him in one of these new Netflix. I think he was on like an episode of True Detective a couple years ago, but that's not good enough. We need to give Fred Ward like a Mickey Rourke type.
He needs a starring role on something.
And you know what? It might be the point. I think he's like in his 70s. He might be like, I'm done. It might even be that. But yeah, I'm a big Fred Ward fan. But yeah, I saw a film, and a lot of his movies, like this particular film, it was called Euphoria. It was spelled UFORIA. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I have not.
No, Harry Dean Stanton was in it as well.
Oh, the great Harry Dean Stanton.
Oh, yeah. And Cindy Williams from Laverne and Shirley was in it.
That is random.
She was great. She played like a kooky, like UFO religion type, like cult chick, like there's UFOs in the Bible. Like Fred Ward's just her drunk boyfriend. What are you going on about? Harry Dean Stanton says, we can make some money off of this. It was a very funny movie. It was hilarious. Very hard to find because it was just one of those movies that from the 80s or even though it was a good film, that came out once on VHS, went out of print.
There's so many of those that are. I have a movie. I don't know if you remember this movie. I have a movie on VHS that I haven't heard anything about since like the 90s. It was called No Escape with Ray Liotta.
I don't believe I've heard of that, no.
He's a military guy, he executes one of his generals or something like that. I don't remember it's been a long time since I watched it. I do still have it. I need to throw it in sometime just to, jog the memory. But they get sent to, this island that's a prison, and no one's ever escaped from it because it's kind of, out in the middle of the ocean. But they've basically segregated themselves into tribes. And it's crazy weird, but I've never seen it on DVD or Blu-ray. No. It's one of those that's kind of flown under the radar, and it was a really cool movie. I really enjoyed it. They would randomly find things washed up on the beach, and they would use that to barter. Hey, I found some toothpaste in a box, this box of toothbrushes and some toothpaste, and all right, well, I'll barter that for this pair of shoes I found. It was really weird. It was like Gilligan's Island meets Battle Royale. It was very odd.
Like a Lord of the Flies type deal, like stuck on an island. And...
Yeah, Lord of the Flies, Battle Royale meets Gilligan's Island. That kind of just weirdness, except it was adults and not like, 8th graders.
And see, this has me thinking too, because I'm watching this great, 80s comedy, sci-fi comedy, and how did this movie not have a special? There's so many worse movies that got rediscovered and got a 2-disc special edition, whatever, and they brought everyone back for commentaries, and the doc is dude, this movie was completely forgotten about. There's just one of those things, and it's the studios just, well, whatever, they just didn't end up putting that one out.
Well, there's so many of those, there's so many of those companies now, like Arrow and Vestron and all these different ones. Code Red is another one. Vivatron. I think it's
Sage Stallone had a really good company that he put out B movies on. I forget what it was called. Was it Blue Underground? I think it was called Blue Underground. I might be wrong about that, but he put out The Beyond and
nice.
A bunch of these old Fulci movies. So I found that funny that he's a distributor, this old B movie distributor.
Well, and it's cool to see because you're seeing some of these movies that were kind of VHS cult classic type things that maybe got a DVD release but never a proper DVD release. It was
it was just the transfer from the VHS.
It was the VHS transfer. And
I have a lot of those. I have Hellraiser, my copy of Hellraiser.
I have a few of those DVDs where it's it might as well be a VHS except it's in widescreen. Other than that, but. The thing that I love about these niche companies is they put so much love and care into restoring these films and just loading them with cool stuff, and it's oh, this is so awesome. And a lot of times the special features are way better than the movies are. The documentary stuff and just the a movie I love that Night of the Creeps. I don't know if you've ever...
Night of the Creeps. Yes.
Was
a
favorite. There's a favorite of mine that I watched a lot as a kid, and kind of rediscovered again later. But they
who was in that? Was anyone in that? Who was in that?
Good.
I'm trying to remember. Anyone notable?
Fred,
or was it non-actors?
Well, Fred Decker was in it.
Not Fred Ward.
No, not Fred. Tom Atkins is in it.
I love Tom Atkins.
He's the sheriff. The famous line from that film is "Thrill me."
I think I've seen.
I think everybody that has a television, and had cable television back in the 80s, late 80s through the 90s and even early 2000s, probably have seen that movie. If you had USA, TBS, because
Tom Atkins was an underrated guy. He was in. Oh man, he was in everything in the 90s. He was somewhere Hal, the Creep Show. He was the dad.
The Fog.
That's why God made fathers. He's in Halloween 3. He's just.
I also rewatched The Fog this past.
The Fog, yeah.
And I forgot all about that he was in The Fog because he doesn't have a mustache and he's clean shaven, and it's holy shit, that's Tom Atkins. It's whoa, but. He's in it, but anyway, they had been talking about for years that this was going to get a DVD release, and I don't think it ever happened, or it come out and then it got pulled off the shelf for some reason.
That happened with Dennis Hopper. He made a movie. You ever heard of his movie, The Last Movie?
I've heard of it. I don't really know anything about it. I know it was this big thing. It got made, and then it kind of just has always been shelved and never gone anywhere. Yeah.
It was a situation where it was right after he made Easy Rider. Easy Rider comes out and it's a huge hit, and they said, "Do whatever you want. We'll give you, a few $1 million. You can do whatever, carte blanche, right?" So he makes this really weird movie. He goes down to South America, I think. It's about a stuntman who accidentally kills somebody on a set. It's a really weird. It's very experimental. It's very strange. And, it was one of those things that never really got a proper release, and he was working on putting it out before he died, and then that, ended that, unfortunately.
Maybe it's one of those things that someday somebody with the rights and stuff.
Maybe a son or something.
Right, somebody in the family will be hey, he really wanted this to be put out, and maybe one of these cool little niche companies will pick it up and give it, the full treatment. But the thing with the Night of the Creeps is that I was going to get to was that they cleaned it up and given it like a 4K, not a 4K transfer, but they give it, like a real nice Blu-ray transfer from like the original, I believe the original film negatives. They loaded it with like extras. There's a whole documentary on Tom Atkins in it, and it's just like,
oh wow,
yeah, it's
you
so
you
cool.
see more stuff than you did in the original one because they brightened it up and pulled it out of the darkness, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and color, just color correction, digital color correction type stuff, to make it just more like vibrant looking. Yeah. And another movie, not that it really needed to be cleaned up, but the 40th anniversary Blu-ray edition of Jaws is absolutely ridiculous looking.
My dad is in Jaws, by the way.
Really?
Yes, that was shot on Martha's Vineyard, which is where I'm from originally. And it's great watching the movie with like my family too, because they'll like point absolutely everybody out in every scene, like, oh yeah, that guy used to work here, but like he's not really, he's a silhouette. He worked on the boat, and it's like him opening the door to the boat, but it's like a silhouette. But it's still like my dad's in Jaws, so it's like kind of a cool little thing.
That's kind of a cool little thing, definitely, man.
Definitely, yeah.
But
could have been a shitty, forgettable movie. It was Jaws, which one of the classic, horror films.
That is my favorite film, pretty much, period, of all time.
Yeah.
So, but the thing with that transfer is, I mean, it looks like it was shot today. I mean, because they cleaned everything up. I mean, there's no scratches, there's nothing. I mean, it's gorgeous.
And that costs so much money too, like to go back and do that. Like, it's really, I wonder if they really make a profit, especially a movie like Night of the Creeps, like cleaning it all up. Like, maybe it does do a good profit, but
I think it's one of those things where they probably do make some money on it. And I think with a lot of them, I know some of these companies like Scream Factory will put out, they've done the kind of like restored some of like John Carpenter stuff and given it new loaded it with extras, but it's limited to like 10,000 copies.
Oh, really? Like which, like later John Carpenter?
I have the Steelbook edition of The Fog. They did a Steelbook of Escape from New York, a Steelbook of what the hell was the other one? The Thing.
One of my favorite horror. That's the best Alien film, in my opinion. I think it out-aliens Alien. The Thing. Personally. I know that's a controversial topic.
Those two movies are
I love it.
in some of my top favorites ever. So, what the hell was the other one? They Live got a Steelbook.
Now, you remember like 10, 15 years ago when tins, remember the limited edition tins they used to have? Those were like hot for a year or two, and like those are worth a lot of money now. Going back,
well, the thing is with like the Steelbooks and stuff, companies will put them out in limited edition runs, but it's usually like a new movie. It's something that's like Wonder Woman Steelbook, 5,000 or whatever. But these older films, it's cool. They're doing Prince of Darkness and what the hell was the other one? Assault on Precinct 13 are both coming out with Steelbooks from Scream Factory pretty soon too. So
that was a good one.
Those like right there, because I know Scream Factory just does such an amazing job on like remastering these old films and just putting a lot of love into like the behind the scenes stuff, and the artwork is beautiful that they do for these Steelbooks.
Yeah, I noticed that with the Blu-rays too. The new Blu-rays that are coming out, they're putting out the great like original artwork for the covers and stuff.
Yeah, and it looks so good. And a lot of times with like those, if you order them right from Scream Factory, if you pre-order, they'll give you like I think they're like 20 by 27 poster, of the art and stuff like that. So yeah, they're $25 or $30, but if you are a huge fan of that movie, it's really kind of worth it to spend the money on.
And it's going to have the value. It's going to be out of print. Sky. Not that you must. Maybe you'd sell it someday if you were hard up.
I come across the Steelbook of the Lost Boys at Bull Moose not too long ago, and I didn't pick it up like an idiot, and it was only like $10. And that is what, that's a movie I love, and I no longer have it in my collection because several years ago during a financial hardship, I had to sell off a bunch of my movie collection because that was all I had of value to sell off. So I ended up selling about 200 plus DVDs, and that was one of them. I kept a very small amount of films, It was like the ones that I know I would watch over and over and over and over and over, and So,
my buddy Mike, who plays JT in the Slim Duffy, he bought a movie called Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. You ever seen that? It's the movie that Kiss made in the 70s. It's terrible. It's really bad. But it was, just one of these like they threw it out there, like third, party company, and he bought it. It's worth like $100 now, One of those like cheapo DVDs that.
What bums me out is that I've been slowly over the years kind of filling my collection back in when I find stuff for cheap, a couple bucks or whatever used, and picking it up. And I've filled, I've gotten a lot of those filmed back, or I've replaced them with Blu-rays or whatever. But the thing that bums me out so bad is I've gone on like Amazon and stuff trying to find some of these movies and seeing like the versions that I had and how much they're worth now because they're out of print.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that hurts. It's like I resold that for like $1.50 at the time, and now it's worth like $80.
Right.
So what have you seen exciting lately for films?
Like newer films?
Anything, new, old, anything. What have you watched recently that got you going? That was awesome.
I watch a lot of documentaries at this more than anything. I've been like obsessed with a good documentary, over the past few years. So like anything that Werner Herzog does, like I've seen, if you haven't seen Lo and Behold, it came out a few years ago. It was a documentary he made about technology and the internet and the future of like robotics and stuff. Really, really interesting stuff. And then he made a documentary about volcanoes recently. Like he just could make really any subject. Like you can make a good documentary about anything.
That man's name is pretty much synonymous with documentaries. I mean, that's what I think of. When you hear that name, that's what I think of as documentary.
They're better than his actual movie, and his movies are good. His narrative films back in the day were really good, but yeah, his documentaries are something else.
It seems really weird, like on Netflix and Amazon Prime, there's a lot of really cool documentaries on there, but it seems like it's real hit or miss. Like sometimes there's like a plethora of them on there, and other times there's like one that I have any remote interest in checking out. And
yeah, and it's funny. I saw a documentary recently too about. Did you ever see that movie Boys Don't Cry? I think that's what it's called.
I don't think I ever.
Like Hilary Swank.
I don't think I ever saw it, but I remember like kind of a little bit of a general thing about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was based on a real person. It was like a transgender like kid from the Midwest who gets like raped and murdered. And it's a really crazy story. It's really like it's a very interesting story. It's a real like, it's one of those, obviously they made a movie about it, but everyone in the movie is very like they don't know how to tell a story. Like all the people in this town are like you're trying to like listen and you're like, yeah, so he was standing there and then I was over here, I think. And no, maybe I was over here. I don't remember really, and just the editing and the way the interviews were is like, you guys ruined a really good, and it's all the people that knew him or knew her, whatever. It was like, it was the first time in a while I've seen a documentary about something really good that was like, God, that could have been so much better.
There's a couple really good. The last ones that I watched, it's been a little while since I've watched them, other than like behind the scenes movie documentary type stuff, special feature stuff, but The Culture High is really good if you haven't seen that yet.
Culture High? No, I don't believe
it's
that.
on Netflix. If you got Netflix, it's on there. It was on there. It's very interesting. It's just, about the whole, like the effect marijuana, like the marijuana culture has had on different cities. Vancouver was one of them, and there was 2 documentaries. I may be getting one of them confused with the other.
There's so many weed documentaries.
These ones, the Culture High was made, and the other one is both made by the same people. So I watched them back to back, so I kind of get them confused a little bit about what was in which one, because it's been a little while since I had a chance to watch them. But those are really good documentaries, very interesting, just well done, well put together. And
American Drug War, that was a really good documentary made by a guy named Kevin Booth. He was friends with Bill Hicks. They were in a band together. Bill Hicks was a comedian.
Oh,
that was really good.
I know who Bill Hicks is.
Yeah, for the folks out there that don't know who Bill Hicks is, go on YouTube, look up Bill Hicks, you idiots.
And while you're there, also look up Mitch Hedberg if we're talking about great classic comedians.
Yes. An escalator cannot break; it can just become stairs.
I don't want to tell him his jokes because I just feel like I would butcher him. And
yeah, anyone really does. Yeah, without that.
But
cadence.
There's the donut one. It's like I bought
a donut.
I bought a donut, and the cashier asked me, "Would you like a receipt? We do not need to bring paper into this transaction."
I need a receipt for a donut. Let me eat the donut. You take the money. End of transaction. Yeah.
Oh, Mitch Hedberg just.
Dude, he made a movie in the late 90s. It was like a Waiting. It was like Waiting before Waiting came out. It was the same kind of thing. He worked in a, what was it called? It was like he worked in a Mexican restaurant, and it's got a great cast. Like Dave Attell is in it, and a bunch of great comedians.
Oh, nice.
And that's another movie. It never came out. Like, he never really got to finish it. And his wife has been trying to put it out for the last, 10 years or so.
You know what I just picked up on VHS that I have not seen in ages, talking about comedians from that era, is The Adventures of Ford Fairlane with Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh my God, I love Dice, man.
That is such a good movie too. It's
such a funny dude. Oh my God. So, I listened to a lot of Opie and Anthony, or I did back in the day, and he was on there a lot. And God, yeah, he's always funny, always hilarious.
That's I love, and I like now too that you're starting to see kind of a little bit of a resurgence of the comedy specials and stuff, and you're starting to see Joe Rogan has, all these different people. Whitney Cummings is another one that's really funny that I like. Joe Rogan, Tom Segura,
Jim Norton is really, really funny.
I've never watched much of Norton stuff, but
he's great, man. He was an Opie and Anthony guy. He does a radio show now too. He's hilarious. Bill Burr is good.
Bill Burr, yeah. Ari Shaffir.
Ari Shaffir is hilarious.
Tom
Kelly.
Papa.
Love Tom Papa.
I mean, there's
Kevin Brennan is very funny. That's Neil Brennan's brother, the guy that did Half Baked.
Oh yeah. There's another guy too that I've watched a couple of his specials, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head because it's he's kind of a clean comic as far as it's not Jim Gaffigan.
Is it Brian Regan?
It might be.
He's a really hilarious, clean guy. Doesn't swear at all, but yeah.
This guy drops a few F-bombs, but I mean, overall, his stuff is pretty tame compared to a lot of the other comics that I like. So, I just bummed me out. I can't remember what the hell his name was, but I love the fact, but I love the fact you're starting to see all these comics doing non-TV specials, so they kind of get to really do their thing. It's almost like the day of the old HBO, comedy specials and stuff. So it's
that used to be a rare thing though too. A lot of the comedy, it is good. A lot of these guys are getting specials, but Comedy Central has, there's a million of those specials, and I think it used to be a thing where HBO, when you got the HBO special, that was that was the big deal.
Made it to the big leagues.
Now I think it's you get the Netflix special. I think now it's the Netflix special is the one that's the
well, there's so many of them are choosing to release it that way because I think they have more creative control over what they're doing and how they're releasing stuff. You know what I mean? I think it's maybe where an HBO, we need you to do 3 specials, and they've got to, you can't do this and you can't do that. And, because I remember watching a lot of George Carlin stuff on HBO. It was either HBO or Showtime that he used to have a lot of.
Oh, he put out a bunch. He put out one like every year.
Oh, he was a machine
he had a lot
as far as like comedy specials, and they were hit or miss.
Very
but
funny.
I mean, you think of like Eddie Murphy Raw and stuff like that back in the day too. You know, in No Cure for Cancer, Dennis Leary. You know,
or the Pryor concerts.
Pryor's another one. Yeah, there was that kind of like that 80s golden. Not the golden age, but like that 80s just like pop awesome comics.
The specials,
all the specials
started,
I remember like watching those when I was way too young to watch them and like sneaking, sneaking watching them because I really wasn't supposed to be because they were kind of dirty and especially old Eddie Murphy, man. That stuff it was in Dice and all that stuff,
Yeah, they were, a lot of the stuff, and like someone like Dice too, like, and those other guys too, but so like politically incorrect. Like Eddie Murphy, Eddie Murphy had some stuff back in the day that was super, like he wouldn't be able to do it now.
He had some stuff that's super homophobic back in the day.
Oh yeah, the one bit is called faggots or whatever. It's like, wow, he named the title of that. He couldn't do that now.
And I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize how like raunchy Richard Pryor was, because they'd only know him from like his films and stuff like that. And Red Fox was another one. Red Fox was another one that was real way ahead of his time. So,
did you ever see the movie Lenny where Dustin Hoffman played Lenny Bruce? That was a great movie.
Lenny Bruce. There's another one.
He was the original. He was the original one. Yeah, the guy that. He was getting arrested back when you couldn't swear in clubs. Like, he was swearing and getting pulled off stage. And
Joe, if you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast at all, you hear him talk about Lenny Bruce a lot and how he was like, he broke down so many barriers for comics, and what they're able to do because of his act and just the content of his act and,
Yeah. And he became like a lawyer near the end and really fought for like that stuff, like being able to use, you couldn't swear in a public place without being arrested, like back in the 50s, 60s, early 60s.
And not that I like to get political at all, ever, because I fucking hate politics with like the fire of 1,000 burning suns. But this isn't even really so much a political thing, but just a state of the world thing. I see a thing the other day, like, there's comics getting dropped from shows and stuff because of all this sexual misconduct shit that's coming out in Hollywood. And these companies are basically censoring them, saying, we don't want you to do your act because we don't want anything with any sexual, avert sexual overtones and blah, 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 because of all this stuff.
Well, people that even just talk about it. People that even just have it in their act.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, like, colleges are like that, too. A lot of the comedians complain about they don't like playing colleges now because they're just, you can't say that. Just people yelling at, they don't know how it works. Like, being in a comedy club, like, they laugh at everything until something offends them. And it's like, but you laughed at everything else. Maybe someone was offended, And then they pick and choose. People pick and choose, obviously, what they're offended by. And then they want to shut you down as soon as you go into what they don't like.
That's, I heard somebody say one time, it's everybody's cool with freedom of speech until it's something you don't like.
Yeah, definitely. That's the way most people just react. You just react to it. Oh, I don't like that. Get rid of that guy.
But the problem is, I think now, I'm probably going to get hate mail and death threats, but... nowadays, everybody, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people are so overly sensitive about everything, it seems, that, if it bothers them, well, nobody else should be allowed to have it.
I hate that. And you can be offended. That's the great thing about it is you can be offended by it, but you don't have to mess with people's livelihoods. Comedians that are just, they tell a joke, whatever, you don't like it. Just go move on to the next
Harvey Weinstein being a sexual predator, pervert, sicko fuck is one thing. Somebody telling a fucking dirty joke is something completely different. You know, that's, you can't correlate the two as being the same fucking thing. It's not. But it's getting pushed into that extreme, and it just, as somebody, you know, as a writer and a, you know, musician and a podcaster and whatever, and I'm sure you know, as a filmmaker for you, censorship in any form sucks. You know, it's when you start going down the slippery slope of what should and shouldn't be censored, that's a dangerous path to start going down, in my honest opinion. One of the beautiful things about, you know, the United States, for all its faults and all of its good points, is we have freedom of speech. You know, everybody has the right to say something. I don't agree with a lot of what people say, but that's their opinion. As I, you know, as an opinion I grew up on hearing constantly, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. That doesn't mean you need to fucking tell this person you can't have that opinion because it offends me. That's stupid.
Yeah. No, and there's something too, like, especially when it comes to the political stuff, there's something about all of that stuff that really just makes ordinary people very irrational, and they don't really realize they're being irrational when you're in that, when it's something you feel very passionate about, and you just kind of
you get into that with anything, politics, music, books, you know, movies, whatever. People get very things that people are passionate about, and I get, you know, people want the best. People at heart, you know, want the best for different things. I think anyway. Maybe I'm a you know, a cautious optimist when it comes to stuff like that.
No, I think a lot of people feel that way, and they don't realize most of the time, especially when it's something real shitty that they might think it's, you know, a lot of times people, definitely like do what they think is right, even if it's totally wrong.
It's just, it's a weird slippery slope to start going down, and I really hope people, you know, this is my plea to the people who listen to this show, you know, or whatever, is just try to take a few minutes to listen to somebody else's point of view, even if you don't agree with it. You don't need to get combative. You don't need it to turn into that person hates me because they, you know, it's just, everybody needs to listen to everybody's point of view, you know.
And when you only listen to one point of view for so long, it normalizes it, and then it can get worse and worse, and then you can just be delusional by some of the
sometimes that different point of view might open your eyes up to something else, something you didn't think of. Or to
at least make you think, like, all right, maybe not everyone on that side is an asshole. Maybe they just feel this way.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Just because, okay, for an example, I am not a super religious person. I have my own beliefs. And, you know, you get into that sort of thing. But, you know, I believe a certain way, you know, and I believe I'm the type of person that I really believe your actions speak louder than your words, you know, type person. But
from your mouth to God's ears.
You know, but you get, just because you might be, you know, a devout Jew, that doesn't mean that I hate you because, you know, or you're a devout Muslim or a Christian or whatever. That doesn't mean I dislike you because of your beliefs. If you're an asshole and you do something that gives me a real reason to hate you, then that's a good reason. But not just because of your belief system or, you know, I mean, religion's the easy one to, you know, put a narrative to, I guess, as far as that type of stuff goes. But that can apply to anything. You know, Matt, just because you like the New England Patriots, I think you're a dick, because I am I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, and my team has suffered for so long. Why is the New England Patriots always winning Super Bowls? They're a bunch of assholes. Therefore, anybody who's a fan of the Patriots is just a bandwagon jumping dick because I'm a Browns fan and I've suffered.
You know, you got Josh Gordon, you got Kaiser, you might be able to do something next year, kid.
You know,
you got Njoku, whatever his name was.
I've been saying that for years because, I mean, in all seriousness, I am a huge New England Patriots fan. I stuck through them all the years they sucked. And
My hero growing up was Drew Bledsoe. Yeah, I remember Bledsoe. I remember all those
Teds,
dudes.
Teddy Bruschi and Teddy Johnson. Pepper Johnson.
Yeah.
All those guys. Those were my. Those were the guys I rooted for a long time. And
Larry Izzo,
the great special teams master. And we got Matt Slater now. We have a long tradition of awesome special teamers. So Nate Ebner, all those guys.
Nate Ebner, the rugby
yes,
dude.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, I always root for the Browns, man, because I just feel so bad that they've been so bad for so long.
I watch, I really I like to pick a team each year that sucks, and you just kind of follow the Browns. I try to follow them a little bit and just be like, come on guys, do it, and then the teams that sucked. The NFL is different every year. You look at the Eagles and the Rams and this now are really
so
good. How the hell? It's just fun to watch. Teams suck and then teams get good, and then watch everyone go. No, I was. You do watch you do see the bandwagoners and stuff, but it's just fun to from year to year just to see how it changes.
The NFL. I mean, outside of maybe a few select teams, the parity is so close that anybody can win. As there was a great movie with this title, Any Given Sunday, anyone can win. It's that sort of thing.
That's a great movie, by the way.
Excellent movie. I'm going to have a sports movie marathon here at some point and do a whole episode just based on awesome sports movies, maybe in the spring or something.
That's a big one. That's one of the best football.
The Program,
movies.
Necessary Roughness, Any Given Sunday, and The Last Boy Scout.
You could skip The Replacements.
I kind of like The Replacements. It's a happy, feel good thing. It's got my boy Keanu in it.
Yeah, I love that his name in that movie was it was Falco. It was Joe.
Joe Flacco. I think it was Joe Falco. Yeah. But it is
Dude, anytime I watch a Ravens game, I think of Keanu Reeves as Falco.
And to end our conversation, because we are getting to that time, the song Uncle Tom's Cabin by Warrant? Sheriff Tom Brady and Deputy Hep. I every time I hear that song, I think of Tom Brady of the New England Patriots.
I only remember Cherry Pie because they were forced to hit, so they had
go
to play
listen to the song Uncle Tom's Cabin, and you're gonna go, "Holy shit! Why didn't they do more songs like this?" So YouTube it, and So I'd like to thank you, dude, for being on the show. It's been a lot of fun, and it was good to catch up again and do 2 episodes, even though we only get to air 1.
And what the hell, yeah.
I'd like to thank my sponsors, the main Cannababes, for being awesome as always. Their new calendar is out, and I believe it's shipping, or will be shipping here right off. You might be able to still order a copy, I'm not 100% sure, but go to maincannababes.com, check them out. Check out Average Joe's Drive-In online at Average Joe's Drive-In podcast on Facebook, Thomas Washburn Jr. on Instagram, TWJ Author on Twitter. You can go to thomaswashburnjr.com. If you want to support me in any way, and which would also help the show out greatly, is you can buy my books online, both in paperback and Kindle formats at author/Thomas Washburn Jr. on Amazon. So, yeah, there's that. Matt, why don't you give everybody one more plug of where they can find the Slim Duffy Show and your stuff online?
You can go to youtube.com/Matt Enos, ENOS. That's where they get uploaded first. You can go to facebook.com/Slim Duffy. It's the Slim Duffy Show on Facebook. They're a bunch. They're on Vimeo. There's some on Funny or Die, Daily Motion. They're everywhere. But you check out the YouTube or the Facebook. Facebook.com/Slim Duffy, YouTube.com, Matt Enos.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much for coming on the show again, and thank you for coming back on a second time after the whole debacle. I apologize to you for that one. And
thank you for letting me come back on and talk about Fred Ward.
We can talk about Fred Ward anytime, and we'll save the whole Tremors conversation that we talked about the first time around for another episode. But we'll definitely do it again, my friend. It was good talking with you. Take care.
Totally.